All right. Good evening, everybody. It looks like it's 6 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. First off, thanks for joining us. This is the public information meeting for the Oxford Avenue Pedestrian Bridge project. My name is Jake Warren. I'm a capital projects engineer in the Public Works Department, as well as the project manager for this project. So the purpose of this meeting tonight is to inform people of the project, basically let everyone know what we're doing, why we're doing it, and even a little bit how we're doing it. So, but we also, at the end of the meeting, we want to solicit some feedback from you guys to help inform the design and just kind of make sure there's nothing we missed that you guys might be aware of. So last thing I want to note before I get started is that this meeting is being recorded. And we are planning on posting it on the project webpage in the next couple days. So I'll start off by going over what this project is and where it's located. So this project is intended to create a bridge over Oxford Avenue near the Oxford Avenue and Windermere / Navajo Street intersection. So in this picture, you can see this yellow rectangle is the approximate location of the proposed bridge. You can kind of see some nearby landmarks, such as the Oxford Light Rail Station, as well as Santa Fe Drive, and even the Englewood Rec Center over here to the east. So on this slide, we have an image from Oxford Avenue, from the Oxford Avenue and Navajo Street intersection. So this is looking west, where the bridge is going to go. The new bridge is going to run parallel with the RTD bridge you can see in the picture. The south end of the bridge is going to land just behind this existing retaining wall here, and the north end of the bridge is going to land in this green space just next to this other retaining wall. So just a little background on this project. So here we have an excerpt from the Englewood Forward Walk and Wheel Master Plan. The Walk and Wheel Plan provides a roadmap for our efforts to build out the city's bicycle and pedestrian network. Among other things, this plan recommends the implementation of a multi-use path running north-south through the city along the light rail corridor near Santa Fe Drive, and it designates this trail as the Englewood Rail Trail. So that's shown right here in this green dotted line, just running along Santa Fe and the rail corridor. So this plan identifies multiple overpasses along the trail, including this project, the Oxford Avenue Pedestrian Bridge. So this plan really was the origin of this project, and if you want more information from this plan, you can find it on the project webpage. It's also on under the community development section of the City of Englewood website. So before I go into further detail on what we're trying to build, I just want to go over some of the project goals. So first off, we want to provide a safer crossing of Oxford Avenue near the Windermere Navajo Street intersection. We also want to improve accessibility to the Oxford RTD light rail station, thereby promoting the use of public transit. We want to expand the Englewood bicycle and pedestrian network according to the walk and wheel plan. And we also want to improve traffic flow on Oxford Avenue by reducing the number of pedestrians and bicyclists that need to cross the street at grade. So just to kind of give you the sort of the story so far, in early 2019, staff submitted an application for federal funds through the Denver Regional Council of Governments Transportation Improvement Program. Once the city was granted the funds, staff worked with CDOT to develop an intergovernmental agreement, which was approved by City Council on May 14th of last year. So this IGA sets the terms for the project, such as who's going to hire contractors, who's going to manage the project and project records, um, and who's going to have maintenance responsibilities after the project is built. So CDOT is responsible for distributing federal funds for transportation projects in Colorado, and this IGA is required for the city to actually receive the grant funds. So following the execution of the IGA, the city solicited engineering services through a public request for proposals. We got 8 different engineering teams that responded and submitted proposals, and Wilson and Company was selected as the most qualified firm by the selection committee. So Wilson's been working on the project since late December and is getting ready to submit the preliminary design package to the city and CDOT for formal review. So a little more on the funding in this project. The project is funded by a combination of, like I mentioned, federal grant funds, but also city funds. The funding is split according to the IGA. It's split at an 80% to 20% federal funds to city funds. With $1.6 million grant, the city is responsible for contributing $400,000. And that brings our project budget to a total of $2 million. So the city's consultant, Wilson & Company, has reviewed multiple alternatives for the bridge with the intent of determining the structure and path alignment that best satisfies the goals of the project while staying within the overall project budget. So the consultant reviewed each of the possible alternatives for their compatibility with the critical design criteria for the project, and those criteria being ADA compliance, bicycle rideability, roadway clearance, right-of-way constraints, impacts to existing infrastructure such as the retaining walls. There's a bunch of utilities in the area that we need to avoid. Also maintenance needs, connectivity to the trail, the train station, the street side sidewalks, and the future rail trail. We'll also consider aesthetics and costs. So on this slide, we just have the structural alternatives that the consultant looked into. There were essentially 8 alternatives for the bridge structure. We had a cast in place bridge, a precast concrete box beam bridge, and then a H-section prefabricated steel truss and a prefabricated steel truss with an underhung deck. And then for each of those alternatives, we looked at a single span structure versus a 2-span structure. And the gateway truss you see here on this slide is what would be the single span version of the underhung truss. So after reviewing each of the potential alternatives in the context of the project goals and key design criteria, the team settled on the 2-span truss with an underhung deck. So the primary benefits of this structure type are, first off, that it is simple and straightforward to construct. These types of bridges are prefabricated off-site. They're trucked to the project site and then set in place in a single day. The second key benefit is that it has a shallow depth from the surface of the deck to the bottom of the structure. And without this shallow structure depth, it would be difficult and maybe even impossible to make the south side approach path ADA compliant. So the third benefit is that the structure type is aesthetically desirable. When we compared it to the other alternatives, it's going to have a shorter overall profile and just an openness that'll create a lighter feel both while you're on the bridge and when you're viewing the bridge from, say, Oxford Avenue. And lastly, I'll add to that and just say this was crucial to developing a feasible design. The lighter steel truss superstructure and the 2-span configuration allows us to use a spread footing as opposed to caissons or driven piles. which in turn lets us move the abutment closer to the existing retaining wall without impacting the existing wall or its footing. So just to kind of emphasize that I have these two drawings here. The left drawing shows the bridge abutment on the south side, and in the previous design iteration, we had the abutment about 15 feet from the existing retaining wall to avoid the retaining wall footing. And the right drawing is our current design, which shows the abutment about 10 feet closer or 5 feet from the retaining wall. And that allows us to, it allows the path to completely avoid impacting the Oxford Station Apartments parking lot. It also lets us avoid impacting a fire hydrant and some water main in the area. So there's some huge benefits to that structure type. So ultimately what we ended up with is a structure looking like the one we have here. The top portion of this drawing shows the alignment of the bridge as viewed from above, while the bottom portion shows you an elevation view or side view of the bridge looking west. So this drawing also shows you the existing retaining wall and footing on the south side, so that you can see right here. So you can see in this hatched line, that's the existing retaining wall footing that we're avoiding by using the shallower foundation. So I know I showed this drawing earlier, but I wanted to bring it back up to talk about the approach path alignments and connectivity. So on the south side, the approach is going to use the existing sidewalk ramp to tie into the street side sidewalk. But also we plan on designing the south abutment to allow for a connection to the future rail trail, which is intended to continue along the railroad tracks. So on the north side, we essentially have 3 different connections proposed. The first is meant to tie the bridge crossing down to the northwest corner of Oxford and Windermere. The second is for people that want to continue north-south along the existing sidewalk or the future rail trail. And the third is a small staircase connection to the RTD ramp, which will allow for a shorter walking distance for people that want to access the station, while also discouraging potential high speed like bike traffic from sort of flying up that ramp and really creating a hazardous situation. So going forward, the consultant's going to be submitting their preliminary design for formal review to CDOT and city staff in the next, I think the next week or two. They'll also get started on fully designing the bridge and proposed retaining walls. They'll be getting started on the lighting and landscaping designs, and they'll need to determine in detail the potential right-of-way impacts. All right, with that, we can open things up to questions. So if you want to ask questions and you're on a computer, you should have a toolbar that looks something like the one shown here. You can use the raise your hand button to let us know, and we're going to call on one person at a time to unmute and voice their questions, and then I'll do my best to answer them. In the meantime, you can also enter your question in the chat, and we'll read through those one at a time as well, and I'll answer those on the call. Now, if you did dial into the meeting, we'll give an opportunity after we get through some of these other questions for you to unmute, and you can do that by pressing *6 on your phone. So, Brittany, do we have any hands raised?
Not yet. I'm not seeing anybody just yet. Oh, there is one person. Guest ZH has a question.
Okay.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Awesome. I thought originally for some reason, I thought that this project was about crossing over 285. But I guess it's not, like, it's crossing Oxford?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
what
mean, this,
happened to the whole, I thought that there was like improvements that were supposed to happen to cross 285 for pedestrians.
well, we have a couple things maybe that you could be thinking of. So there is the 285 and Broadway interchange project, which has a component of pedestrian and bicycle access to it. That project is ongoing in the design, and we had our first public meeting in February. We're going to have another one in May. You could also be thinking of, I believe, on the Englewood, the walk and wheel master plan, there is mention of a pedestrian overpass over 285. But that's further down the pipeline.
Oh, I
That
see.
would be, I'm not sure exactly which portions of the rail trail we're going to go after completing next, but that's definitely in the long-term plan.
Okay. Okay, now I'm understanding. I thought this was for going over 285, but it's not. So, okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Anyone else want to raise their hand? Looks like we have Erica. Erica, do you want to unmute yourself?
Hey there, I'm here with my husband Justin, and he's got a question. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, so we live in that area, and we're also wondering, maybe perhaps similar to your previous question, we thought this was going over Santa Fe because that seems like a much more dangerous route for pedestrians. Is there anything in the Inglewood Forward about getting across Santa Fe?
Yeah, there's so not in this area. I'm sorry?
Or under it?
So not in this area. So one of the things I'll point out first off, the Oxford pedestrian bridge is really running along the westernmost what do you call it? Right-of-way line for Englewood. I mean, that is the Englewood-Sheridan border. So that Oxford and Santa Fe intersection is in Sheridan. I mean, technically the RTD light rail station there is in Sheridan. So we're literally going to place this bridge a matter of 2 feet from the edge of Englewood's jurisdiction. So if you're interested in a crossing of Santa Fe, at least in this area, you really should be talking to Sheridan. Now the Englewood Walk and Wheel Plan has at least one, I believe, crossing of Santa Fe proposed in the northern part of the city. I'm just kind of going off of memory here, so I don't remember exactly where. But there is interest in sort of providing a safer crossing of Santa Fe, just not in this area because it's west of this project is Sheridan's jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you for that. I think like a follow-up question would be, are there plans with Inglewood Forward to cooperate with the city of Sheridan to access all of those beautiful shops just on the side there? We do like to walk and bike and access to Mary Carter Greenway. And it would be lovely if there was some safer way to cross Santa Fe. And I understand that Sheridan, but there is an Englewood connection, or I feel like Englewood would benefit from a pedestrian connection to Sheridan.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I would agree with that. I don't think it would be Englewood's responsibility. Doesn't seem like the right word, but that's not a project that we should be leading. like we shouldn't be leading a project that is primarily in Sheridan. So, I think we would absolutely work with them to make suitable connections to, like if they proposed a bridge to cross Santa Fe in the area, yeah, we would work with them to make those connections. But it's not a project that we're gonna be the primary funder on, and we're not gonna manage that project.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Looks like Tara has a question.
Hi, this is Tara Biderfleur. I don't know if it's okay for me to comment. I'm the mayor of Sheridan.
Okay. Yes, that's
So I
fine.
just wanted to jump in and speak to the last question a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We've wanted to have a bridge, as long as I've been on council, which is like 12 years, 13 years. So it's definitely something that's on our minds. But it is a very expensive proposal from what we've seen in the past. We've gotten some kind of tentative proposals for it. And I think the last time we got a quote, it was around 6 million, and that was several years ago. So it's not something that's an easy lift. But I'd be glad to bring it up again when we have another Tri-Cities meeting or talk with Mayor Olson about it and see if we can maybe bring it up in priority a little.
Yeah, and I thought there was a study that happened in the last year or so that Sheridan was leading, or maybe Arapahoe County was leading it, about like kind of connections near Oxford Avenue to the South Platte River Trail.
There's a whole Santa Fe PEL, as they call it, that CDOT's doing right now. So I'm sure it includes, I don't know if that's what you're referring to, but I'm sure it includes I know it includes east-west connectivity as well.
Okay. All right, and it looks like David has another question.
Yeah, thank you. We also live in the area and have been looking forward to this bridge for a while. So thank you for proposing this and getting the funding to move this forward. The only comment I would have is we also walk and ride our bikes a lot, and I've noticed, just as an example, I don't know if you're familiar with the Highlands Bridge that crosses over I-25 in Denver, but it has both bikes and pedestrians on it. And it's a very wide bridge because of that. And I didn't know if there was any consideration for having both. I mean, it sounds like we're going to have both bikes and pedestrians on this, but the width of that bridge allows for kind of both to happen at the same time. So more of just a comment, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I'd be wary of making the bridge much wider just because of the cost implications. It's definitely something I can talk to the consultant about, and if we feel like we're on target to be under the budget, then that's something we can consider. But yeah, those bridges get expensive as you make them wider.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else want to raise their hand and ask a question? Otherwise, we'll take a look at the chat. Okay, we got another one, ZH.
Yeah, I have a question. Who would be responsible, like in the winter time when the snow needs to be cleared from the bridge? Is that a city of Englewood responsibility? Who's going to handle that?
Yeah, it would be a city of Englewood responsibility.
Cool. And then I have just one question about, is this supposed to, I know that you mentioned the big trail that's supposed to be built, that's going to be following along the rail line. Yep. So when that gets built, would that just continue along the rail line instead of going back down to Windermere? So basically I'm looking at the website and there's a page with like a sky level view, and I was just wondering if that trail would continue parallel to the light rail.
Yeah, so generally, I mean, the trail is going to continue from the basically the very north end of town to the very south end. So most of it is going to be right next to the rail corridor. If you're talking about in this project area specifically, that's something that we're going to have to kind of figure out going forward, because it is right where the paths touch down on this project as we have them proposed. They're coming down to the sidewalk, and it's right where there's a bus stop, and people are trying to access the light rail station. So there's probably pedestrians going every which way. Just figuring out how we tie in this to the future rail trail is going to be interesting on the north side of things. I mean, it may be something where we push the bikes towards the street, or frankly, I'm not sure exactly what we're going to end up doing. Yeah, Erica.
Hey, a different question this time from me. Is there a plan to create bike lanes on Windermere, like headed up into, let's see, which direction is that? South, headed south on Windermere? Will there be bike lanes along that street?
You're talking north of the project?
No.
South towards Littleton on Windermere, towards Bellevue.
Yeah.
The city of Littleton, when that was repaved last summer, put in bike lanes on their portion, but then it abruptly ends when you hit Englewood on Windermere, then going in between Oxford and Bellevue.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm having trouble picturing that area.
It would lead right up to this. It would lead right up to this bridge that you're talking about, basically, on Windermere. Will there be bike lanes there?
Yeah, I mean, I would kind of have to look back at the walk and wheel plan. I haven't looked at that area in detail. I mean, the intent is to have the rail trail continue down that way. So, I don't know if it'll, because some areas, just because of right-of-way issues, we may have to use the existing sidewalk space, or just have painted bike lanes on the street, or things like that. We may not have the room to do a separate trail. So those are going to be kind of the things we need to figure out in the next year or two, as we push the overall rail trail project forward.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's basically like Canine Corral to Oxford Station, if there's a way to get bikes safely from one to the other. And then, if the rail trail goes all the way down to Canine Corral, then you would get the whole river trail connected. So thank you for considering it.
Yeah. Okay, anyone else? All right, Brittany, we got any questions in the chat? Did we lose Brittany? Let's see. Okay, I got the chat pulled up. It looks like C. Townley is asking, is there any lighting integrated into the bridge design? So we haven't started the lighting design, but the intent is to have lighting installation as part of this project. We'll see kind of what the costs look like. I don't know if we'll have lighting on the bridge, or we might just have it at the abutments, or in the green space just north of Oxford. Those will be things we'll figure out in the next couple months. So David is asking, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, it doesn't look like that's a question. Oh, one suggestion to look at Highland Bridge in Denver. Oh, okay. I think we talked about this one, didn't we? And then it looks like Tara is asking, will there be any changes to the existing pedestrian crossing? we still need to talk about that. There's potential for us to remove the pedestrian crossing, or we may leave it in, and that crossing will just get lower priority on the signal timings, and basically just like a shorter crossing time, and it wouldn't be prioritized like as the same way when somebody presses the button. And then it looks like C. Townley is saying, do not remove the pedestrian crossing. Yeah, I mean, it's not decided yet, but it's just something that we're gonna consider. So we have any other questions? Okay, it doesn't look like we have any other questions. So real quick before we end it, I just want to make a quick,
Oh,
I'm sorry?
somebody did have their hand put up, but they put it down.
Oh,
I actually have one last question. Sorry. Is there going to be any widening of the sidewalks that are going to be around that area, especially on the south side, like on the southwest corner?
yeah, so that's, it wouldn't be as part of this project. And we're gonna kind of look at when the rail trail is gonna go in this area. So if it's not gonna go in soon, we may widen the sidewalk at the base of the ramp, just to make that a little bit safer, because there's a retaining wall there, and so the visibility is pretty low, and there's just not a lot of room right there where the ramp touches down. So, but that is a good point. It's something that we are thinking about.
Amy Martinez has also posted a comment. She asks, how far into the green space will the bridge go?
So, I mean, let's see. You can kind of see, if you're familiar with the area, this drawing kind of shows it here. Maybe actually just want to be a little bit better, but so let's see, I'm not sure exactly what this distance is, but it's maybe 20 feet, 30 feet behind let's say 20 feet behind the sidewalk here. So that just kind of gives you a rough idea. This is the bridge abutment where it lands. There will be some retaining walls here, and you can see it better on this drawing actually. So the sidewalk's right here, and this is the abutment. These are the retaining walls. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how far it extends. The bridge extends into the green space, and this one kind of shows you a little bit better, how the pass will affect this green space. So. Any other questions? Okay, real quick, I just want to go back to this and kind of give a quick plug for the project webpage. So we're posting monthly updates on the progress on this project, and also you can find in the sidebar on this webpage, you can find my email address and my office number. So if you have questions after tonight, you can always email me and even give me a call, and I'll do my best to answer those. So yeah, since we don't have any other questions, I think we can go ahead and end the meeting. So thank you guys for joining us, and thanks for all the good questions. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye.